It's easy to assume that the incredible actors who delivered captivating performances in some of our favorite movies and TV shows were always destined for those roles. However, behind the scenes, these actors had to audition just like everyone else, and often they weren't even the producer's first choice. If circumstances had shifted slightly or fate had intervened differently, the actors you adore might never have been cast in those iconic parts. But what happens when the actors themselves hesitate to accept a role? Hi guys, myself Desi Bro. In this list, we'll delve into the fascinating stories of 10 actors who almost turned down what became career-defining roles. These actors hesitated, nearly refusing to take on characters that would eventually change their lives. It's amazing to think about what could have happened if they had followed through with their initial instincts and walked away from these iconic roles. Noti. 10. Jet Li. Jet Li originally had no intention of playing the Chinese emperor in Mulan. In fact, he wasn't planning on returning to the big screen at all. He was content living a quieter life as a devoted father, focusing on his family after his Hollywood career had slowed down. However, it was his daughter, Jada, who convinced him to take on the role. Her motivation wasn't about money or fame. She wanted her father to help promote positive aspects of Chinese culture to a global audience. Recalling how his daughter persuaded him, the legendary action star said, she asked, "Can you make the movie for me?" That's how I decided to take the role. It's one thing to turn down a producer or director, but it's a whole different challenge to refuse your own child. No. 9. Amanda Seyfried. Kate McKinnon was originally cast to play Elizabeth Holmes in The Dropout, but she eventually backed out, leaving producers scrambling to find a replacement. They offered the role to Amanda Seyfried, but she initially turned it down. At the time, Amanda was already working on a film far from her New York home, and the idea of spending even more time away didn't appeal to her, even for such a compelling role. She and her husband decided that The Dropout wasn't right for her, so she told the producers she wouldn't be part of the project. Recalling the situation in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Seyfried explained, "I was having a moment. I had COVID, was isolating in the basement of a gross townhouse in Savannah, Georgia, because my husband was working on a movie there. And now an LA shoot? Pass." But the next morning, she had a change of heart and called the producers back to accept the role. No. 8. Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes was ready to decline the role of Voldemort in the Harry Potter series. He hadn't read the books and didn't grasp what people, especially children, loved about them. He didn't see the potential impact of the movies and was more interested in pursuing adult-oriented projects. It took a very persistent casting director to sit him down and practically force him to reconsider. In an interview on Watch What Happens Live, Fiennes reflected, "In my ignorance, I hadn't read the books. I hadn't seen the first movies, and I was, I have to say, a little snobby about it until the casting director, an amazing English lady named Mary Selway, said, 'You have to do this movie. Just do it, Ralph.' She was so insistent, and then my sister, who has kids, said, 'You're not going to play Voldemort? Are you crazy?' Fortunately, he didn't say no. No. 7. Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman initially didn't think much of the movie Die Hard. When he read the script and realized it was purely an action film, he immediately lost interest. Rickman, a serious actor, didn't want to be involved in what he considered a demeaning genre. However, producer Joel Silver was determined to get Rickman on board and eventually wore him down. Rickman agreed, but had a few conditions. He wanted to make key changes to his character. Surprised they could get such a high-caliber actor, Silver quickly agreed. Years later, during a BAFTA Life in Pictures event, Rickman recounted, "I read the script and said, 'What the hell is this? I'm not doing an action movie.' But agents and others told me, 'Alan, you don't understand. This doesn't happen. You've only been in LA for 2 days, and you've been offered this film.' Thankfully, he accepted the role, even though he initially felt action movies were beneath him. No. 6. Emma Stone. Emma Stone almost passed on starring in La La Land because she was exhausted after wrapping up another musical. The actress had gotten very sick after performing in Cabaret on Broadway, as she later recalled to The Hollywood Reporter. When she was offered the role in La La Land, her initial reaction was disbelief. The idea of doing another musical was like, "You've got to be out of your mind," she told THR. My voice was gone, and I was struggling to get through the shows because I was still doing cabaret. After cabaret, I wasn't sure I would ever sing or dance again. Fortunately, La La Land writer and director Damien Chazelle convinced her to give it a chance. As she got more interested, he assured her it would be a game changer for her career, and it was. In 2016, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in the movie. It's safe to say she's glad she didn't give up on musicals altogether. No. 5. Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega was a rising star when Netflix approached her about starring in their series Wednesday. However, she was hesitant to take on the project. Ortega was concerned that doing another television show, even one for a major streaming platform, could typecast her and limit her career. She wanted to break into movies and bigger, high-profile productions. Despite Netflix's offers and encouragement, she hesitated. But eventually, they managed to persuade her. In an interview with The Times, Jenna revealed that it was actually Tim Burton who convinced her to take the role. I was scared that signing on to another television show could prevent me from doing other jobs I really wanted and cared about, Jenna explained. But Tim is such a legend, and we just happened to get along very well. Even then, I still said, I think I'm okay, a couple more times. Eventually, though, Burton's persistence paid off. No. 4. Leonardo DiCaprio. It's hard to imagine now, but Leonardo DiCaprio initially wanted nothing to do with Titanic. Kate Winslet was already on board, and director James Cameron had a massive budget, high standards, and a clear vision for the film. He just needed a leading man to complete the picture. When he approached DiCaprio, the young actor turned him down. Years later, Cameron revealed that DiCaprio felt being a leading man in a film like Titanic wasn't challenging enough for the roles he wanted to pursue. He declined, only for Cameron to persist until he convinced Leo that it was actually a challenging role. In an interview with People magazine years later, Cameron recalled, he didn't want to do a leading man role. I had to really twist his arm to be in the movie. He thought it was boring. It's hard to imagine Titanic with anyone but DiCaprio in the lead role. No. 3. Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler was offered the role of a lifetime when the producers of The Hunger Games invited her to play Lucy Greybeard. But she wasn't interested. The problem wasn't with the movie or the role itself. The issue was that director Francis Lawrence informed her the production would take months and be entirely shot in Germany and Poland. Zegler didn't want to be away from home for that long, so she turned it down. But then, when another project she was working on was delayed, she suddenly had an opening in her schedule. Reflecting on this in an interview on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Rachel said, I was away from everyone I knew and loved, and I said no, and I regretted it the second I said it. I had another project lined up that fell through and got pushed to 2023. I put my name back into the mix and got it. I feel bad for any of the other girls because I put my name back in and they were like, okay, cool, let's do it. That's just how Hollywood works sometimes. No. 2. Chris Evans. In 2010, Chris Evans was asked to screen test for Captain America, the first Avenger, but he was hesitant to take on the role. At that time, superhero movies weren't as big as they are now, and Evans was dealing with personal issues, including anxiety and mini panic attacks while working on other films. He turned down the Marvel audition, feeling unworthy of such a major role and doubting his ability to succeed. Surprisingly, Marvel still wanted him so badly that they offered him the part anyway. Before accepting, Evans sought advice from family, friends, co-stars, and even therapists. Eventually, he overcame his fears and reluctantly stepped into the role that would change his life. Reflecting on that time, he said, "It was the best decision I've ever made, and I really owe that to Marvel President Kevin Feige for being persistent and helping me avoid making a giant mistake. Indeed, it was a life-changing role." No. 1. Ewan McGregor. When Ewan McGregor was offered the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Phantom Menace, he was tempted to turn it down. McGregor was a hot young actor with a bright future ahead of him. He had gained recognition from his performances in gritty indie films and wasn't sure if starring in a blockbuster movie would be good for his image. "I had to think about it," McGregor confessed in an interview with The Times. "What I was drawn to at the time was gritty urban independent cinema, and I had done quite a bit of it, and it was all going rather well. But eventually, the allure of becoming part of the Star Wars legacy proved too strong to resist." Reflecting on his decision, McGregor said, "I remember thinking, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. It's just not me." But I did, and thank goodness. The role turned him into a global icon and remains one of his most beloved performances to this day. That's all for today, my friends. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time with more amazing topics. Till then, peace.